God got to have that gold, got to have all the gold. Because God is up there, you know, he got to trade gold with Shamash. He got to trade gold with Krishna. He got to trade gold with Brahma. He got to trade gold with Quetzalcoatl. He got to trade gold with all the other gods, you know, because he got to be the wealthiest god. So that's why God has to have all the gold. That's the smart ass answer. But the real answer to this question is actually a little bit multifaceted. The easiest and first answer, and the most likely answer, is the fact that gold, at the time frame of the writing of any of the myths, no matter which group you look at, and we're going to look at a few of them, gold was an important thing to the people at that time frame. And so since gold was a highly valued product due to its scarcity and its purity, then gold is important to God. This is also demonstrated when you look at stories of Job and you look at stories of Jesus telling the story about the rich young ruler approaching him. It is apparent that to their teachings, wealth and righteousness goes hand in hand. Wealth and closeness to God goes hand in hand. And gold being a item that demonstrates wealth would go hand in hand into your worthiness towards God or your closeness towards God. So that is one of the reasons, because man wrote it at a time frame when gold was important to man. Now, as far back as our history that we can account for, gold has always been important to man. When I was a child, I questioned that. That was one of my questions as a child. Why is it when it spoke of the Garden of Eden, it mentioned that there was much gold in the land? I thought to myself as a child, I was about 12 years old when I asked that question, if there were only two people on the planet, Adam and Eve, why would gold have any value? Because there's only two people and they have access to everything, then gold would have no value. So why is it mentioned that there was much gold in the land? It never made sense, right? But it was important to the people who wrote it. When Hezekiah was writing, was having these things put down in the 8th century, it's possible some things could have been written in the 9th or 10th century, but most likely the first writings of this was put down in the 8th century. To Hezekiah, gold was important. It was so very important because Hezekiah used gold to pay off Sennacherib, the Assyrian king, to stop him from sieging Jerusalem. He bribed him to stop his attack on Jerusalem, and Sennacherib took the bribe and lifted his siege of Jerusalem after conquering the majority of the northern Israelite kingdom. At that time frame, we're talking around in the 700s BCE. So gold was important to Hezekiah. So gold has to be important to God. Now, when you continue to look deeper into the story and recognize the Sumerian aspect of it, according to the Sumerian teachings, the Anunnaki needed gold, and they needed this gold to fix their atmosphere, according to some teachings of it. To other teachings, they also needed the gold because gold had the ability to prolong life, but also gold was a superconductor of electricity. When you look at Tesla's tower, which mimics the Great Pyramid of Giza and how it would have been thousands of years ago, with the Nile River up against it and the underwater aquifers, his tower mimicked the interior of the Great Pyramid, and he was able to produce free electricity. Now, according to archaeology, the Great Pyramid had a gold cap on top of it. And if it was producing this electricity, that gold would have expanded that electricity in this best format. And when I say that, understand this. If you ran an electric wire from Atlanta to LA, and it was made out of gold, that wire would carry the same charge of electricity from Atlanta to LA. But if you laid it with copper, for instance, that charge of electricity would dissipate the further it travels. So gold is a superconductor of electricity. Now, many alchemists throughout the centuries have believed that if they introduce gold or other metals to their body system, since we have an electric body, that they would function at a higher level. Their brains would function at a higher level, and they would also prolong their life and, in some sense, be able to create immortality. So many alchemists have died trying to ingest the right amount of metals, whether it was mercury or silver or gold. They haven't quite figured it out yet. But that has been one of the goals of many alchemists. John Dees especially was big into doing that. But it is known to be a great conductor. Now, the scarcity of gold is what also makes it important. But I mean, make it where they choose other metal. But back to the story. Since the Sumerians wrote that gold was important to the Anunnakis, and we understand that the Akkadians and the Assyrians and the Babylonians carried this story into their societies, and the Israelite people also picked up this story from communicating and contacting and being conquered by these very same people, we can see how they adopted this idea of gold having a meaning that is precious, that the gods love it because they took it from those people. It became part of their own story. So gold then becomes important to God, when in fact gold is only important because of its ability to conduct electricity, as far as we know it today, and we give it a value because of its scarcity. Beyond that, gold does not make for good building material. Gold cannot be consumed. Gold does not make good weapons. It doesn't do anything that we know thus far other than conduct electricity at a high level. If it's possible that gold could close the ozone, it might be. Although the ozone layers has been closing. Matter of fact, on December 7th, 2023, it was reported that the seventh ozone hole had been closed, and they don't know exactly why, is what they're saying. Did they spray monatomic gold? I don't know. But they're saying it could be a multitude of variables that finally closed another hole of the ozone layer over the Antarctica. But we have no idea if they could have done something. They could have sprayed it. We don't know. But beyond those types of applications, we haven't quite figured out how to utilize it to increase our life, to make us smarter, to make us more energetic, to make our bodies function better. We haven't gotten that far in our modern day science. It may have been known in a previous civilization 30,000 years ago, but we don't know today. And since the Sumerians were writing about a culture, a tradition that happened prior to the writing of it, the writings of the Sumerian tablets are about the time frame of 5,000 BCE, 4,000 BCE, but they're writing about what they are saying that happened in 7,000 and 8,000 BCE and even further back, because some of their kings supposedly ruled for 26,000 years. So they're writing about things that supposedly happened 35,000 years ago, 40, 50, 100,000 years ago. So they're not writing at the time frame. None of these societies write at the time frame. So, of course, it all comes to myth and legend, and we have no idea, no archaeological proof of any of these things yet. So, as we continue to dig, we may find more proof, but as of right now, we don't have the proof of Enki, Enlil, the Anunnaki, and all of that sort of thing. But gold was important to God because gold was important to man. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.